What's up, guys? 2-1 yesterday. Now on a 5-day win streak, so I'll take that. Even though yesterday could have been a lot better. Those two other strongest leans that I had in the NBA, I'm pretty sure both got there, so it could have been an even bigger night than it was with the Thunder and the Blazers. But we got there with the Memphis Grizzlies outright win there, outright win with the Houston Texans. So some nice money line cashes on those for a little bit extra. And of course, the New York Giants are a complete train wreck. So let's not talk about that at all. There isn't much else to say about those games. I have one play at this point today, so we'll talk about that. Short card on a Monday, which I like because I don't have to break down as much. It's much better that way. All right, college basketball. There are numerous games here. Still, there's nothing that really interests me yet at this point, even though I love the sport. I love college basketball, and it's starting to get going, but yeah, I don't know. Michigan is playing St. John's. That's one of the only matchups on the board that is between two of the larger conference teams, really. You got Big Ten, Big East there. St. John's is ticked up from -2 to -2.5. I think probably the feeling there, I don't see any of the market percentages yet, but probably the feeling there is that Michigan is probably, certainly the team that's going to carry more like name recognition and probably be getting the public action. So I think the recreational bettors might think that it's value taking them as an underdog. I would be careful with that. I would probably look the other direction there, but there isn't really any like situational angle that I would see there. Villanova is laying double digits, 11.5 at Penn. Also don't see percentages on that, but I would kind of want to lean to Penn in that one just because it's one of those like early big brother, little brother scenarios where like Villanova might kind of want to get in, get out. Pennsylvania, of course, being the little brother that's in the same state as Villanova, and Penn being the Ivy League team there at home. Kind of a weird spot, weird place to play them. I think Villanova does probably play them every year. I'm not sure about that, but it's a game that Penn kind of is more motivated than Villanova is because they're constantly the little brother there, and Villanova is the huge name team in the state coming in to play them. So those are my feelings very quickly on college basketball. Not much going on there. NHL. 2 games. Islanders are at Edmonton. It looks like Edmonton's gone up from -163 to -167 on the money line, but 57% of the tickets and 70% of the cash on the New York Islanders on the road. The way that I look at this one, I was on Edmonton in their previous game, and they finally won a game to get up to 3-9, 3-9-1, whatever. They're certainly better than the record indicates, but they do give up way too many goals. They're not coming back. They are now coming back home from a road trip, so I think they're not in the greatest spot here, really, even though it's a short road trip. It was only 3 games, and it didn't really take them far geographically. I think it was just in the Pacific Northwest. It is still a road trip return, though, so I think there is still that, like, distraction angle coming into play there. And the Islanders are starting a road trip. Edmonton's coming in off the win over Seattle, who was a playoff team last year, at least. You know, Seattle's kind of middle of the road record-wise this year so far. And Edmonton also has Seattle again next. So it's kind of a Kraken sandwich. It sounds like you got some, I don't know, bacon going on there, some burn ends, some pork rinds. I don't know what's going on there. Islanders, their last game was bad, and unfortunately it was the game that I lost on. I think the same day that I won on the Islanders, Saturday, I think. They had a really bad game in what I thought was a bad spot for Washington off of a big win over New Jersey. Going into the Islanders' house, Islanders did not play well at all as a fairly significant favorite. Lost that game. Now I think it might help them to go out on the road. Help them refocus, get out of there, leave your troubles behind, basically, and go out on the road. So I lean to the Islanders here. It's one of those spots where Edmonton's returning from a road trip. The Islanders are starting a road trip. So it's that like combo that I like to see there where the return home is a bad spot and the starting of a road trip is a good spot. If the starting of a road trip is, especially if it's coming off a bad loss, which for the Islanders it is. So that's the way I would look there. I'm agreeing with the cash discrepancy that I see right now, even though the line looks like it's kind of moved against it a little bit. I would take the Islanders as the underdog here. The only thing is that, so I've not actually played this. The only hesitancy that I have here would be that Edmonton has the worst record than the Islanders, 3-9-1, and the Islanders I think are just slightly below 500 or whatever. So that might make like recreational guys look at this and say, how are the Islanders like a big underdog? How's Edmonton favored by that much when they have the significantly worse record? Because the odds makers are telling you that Edmonton is still actually the better team by a bit. So that's the one thing that kind of like keeps me off of it a little bit, but I think it is a bad spot for Edmonton coming home, even though it's a short road trip. So those are my feelings there. And then Colorado, Seattle. Colorado, kind of a big matchup here. Colorado's gone down from minus 150 to minus 144 on the money line, and they got 56% of the tickets, but only 55% of the cash. So it looks like the cash discrepancy is in favor of Seattle there slightly. Looks like Colorado's kind of this public road favorite, and it looks like there's been reverse line movement a little bit going against them, dropping the number a little bit. However, so this is one of those situations where I think the situational angles actually conflict with what we're seeing in the market, at least for me. So that's why I'm staying off of this. I don't know about this, but Seattle, even though Seattle has one positive here, which is that they returned from a road trip in their previous game, which was the one against the Oilers, which was one of the reasons I went against Seattle there. It wasn't a good spot for them for a couple of reasons. It was only a 2-game road trip they were returning from, though. They played a bad game against the Oilers, so now it might be a more positive spot in that second game back home. When you come home, you have that bad first game. You tend to have a better second game. You're refocused now. All your home stuff has kind of been taken care of, the stuff that was distracting you in that first game. Now you get to play. But I also think Seattle was distracted in that Oiler game because they were in an avalanche sandwich. They had just beaten the Avs on the road, which is a huge win. And now they play them again right now at home. So they were in a sandwich against the Avalanche. I think Seattle knocked out the Avalanche from the playoffs last year, too. So this has become kind of a rivalry. And the Avs got their revenge early this season. I think the first time they played, the Avs were able to beat them in Seattle 4-1, I guess. So the Avs were able to get that revenge for getting knocked out last season. So it's been back and forth. This series has this season. The Avs took the first matchup to get that huge revenge. I think that was a huge game for them to get revenge against the team that eliminated you last year, especially when you were the favorite against them and they eliminated you on your own ice last year. I don't know if that went 7 games actually, but it was at least it was a home series for the Avalanche. Now, the Avalanche won the. No, Seattle won the second game. So after the Avalanche won the first game this season, Seattle won the second game. So actually, both road teams have won the games in that series so far this season. And now Seattle has to host the Avalanche again. So I don't know how much to put into that. I think both of these teams are going to be up for this. So that's one thing that we have there. But I think it's quick revenge on the Avalanche side because Seattle just went into their place and beat them. It would be a bit stronger if the Avs hadn't beaten them early this season to exact the revenge from getting knocked out last season. So if that Avs loss to Seattle was the only game that they had this season against, so I would think, yeah, this is like double revenge. This is big motivation for the Avs. It's not quite as extreme as that now, but still, I think the Avs are probably going to be motivated here because 2 games ago they did just lose in their own house to Seattle, who was the team that eliminated them last year. So it's been kind of back and forth. So, yeah, the situational angles kind of lead me to believe that Colorado is maybe going to be a bit more motivated than the market angles would suggest here. But the market angles kind of go against them. So there are things in conflict there, so I don't like it that much. Let's go to the NBA. It's a short card. I'm not going to talk about every game here. I don't think many of them are very interesting. I looked at them. There aren't really many angles to be had here. The game I'm actually going to be on, and the market has kind of moved around to agree with me since I made this play. Because last night, the number was the same as it is now last night, but the market percentages were making it look like the Cavs were actually getting more of the cash than the tickets. When I was looking at it last night, I was like, that's probably going to not wind up being the case, and I think I'm probably right, as currently it is no longer the case. I'm going against the Cleveland Cavaliers in this game at Sacramento. Cavs look like they've got up from -1.5 to -3 as a road favorite. And now currently, even though last night the Cavs had a higher cash percentage and ticket percentage on them, I didn't agree with it. Cavs now are sitting at 50% of the tickets, but 60% of the cash looks like it's on the Sacramento Kings at home. So this line might wind up not staying at 3. I don't know. It's possible we see it moving down back towards the Kings a little bit. I took the Kings +3 as a home underdog. I kind of like those home dogs there. And what's the situation here? What do we got going on here? Cleveland Cavaliers, I think they're in a pretty bad spot as they're coming off another win against the Warriors. So I went against Cleveland the game prior to that Warrior game because they had beaten the Warriors the game prior to that at home, and they went to Oklahoma City, which was sandwiched in between 2 games against the Golden State Warriors. So I thought that was bad. Thought that was a sandwich. Oklahoma City did indeed beat them. Then Cleveland went out for their second game on the road trip on the 11th and beat Golden State again, even though it could have been a possible revenge spot for Golden State there for losing a few days before that to Cleveland, but Cleveland beat them yet again. So now Cleveland, I think, kind of like they were in the Oklahoma City game, it's not a sandwich this time, but they are in a letdown spot, I think. They're off a big game against Golden State, so I don't like the situation for Cleveland there, really just because of that. That makes them look pretty good, even though I don't think Cleveland's a bad team by any means, but it's going to be a down spot for them because you just beat the Golden State Warriors, one of the top teams in the NBA, really. I don't know how much attention really you're going to pay to Sacramento if you did that 2 days ago. So that is the case. Sacramento has had one more day off than Cleveland. They haven't played since the 10th, although they had 2 wins in a row before they went into that break. So that might hurt their momentum a little bit. So that's one aspect of it that I don't quite like on Sacramento. But I think that the letdown scenario is strong enough that's why I'm playing this. I like this. So Sacramento, yeah, they had won 2 games in a row and then had 2 days off. But I don't know how much of a momentum stopper that's going to be when you have Cleveland coming into your house. Cleveland's known to be a pretty good team, and you just saw that they beat the Warriors multiple times. So I think you're going to take Cleveland seriously. You don't have that much else going on, even though you do play the Lakers next, which is another big game. But even so, I don't think it's going to be a look ahead. I think Cleveland's a pretty big name. You've had a couple days off. I think you're going to pay attention to them. And the last games that they had, those 2 wins that Sacramento had, broke a loss streak that they had, and it's not that impressive. They won against Portland at home and had to go into overtime. Then they beat Oklahoma City at home, not by much. So those are their 2 wins. So they might be in need of something. And if you look at Sacramento's schedule, I keep saying roster when I mean schedule in these videos. I hate that. Look at their schedule and look at Cleveland's schedule. Both of them have played Golden State twice, once at home, once on the road. Sacramento is 0-2 in those games. Even though it was playoff revenge in those cases for them, they still have not been able to take out their revenge on Golden State, who knocked them out last year. Sacramento went 0-2 against Golden State in those games, and Cleveland went 2-0 against Golden State. So that syllogism aspect of it, the recreational bettors might see that and think Cleveland, clearly the better team. They beat Golden State twice. Sacramento has lost to them twice. So clearly Cleveland's going to be able to beat Sacramento, right? They do that ABC type of thing there. They're going to think, Cleveland's going to obviously beat Sacramento, right? I think it looks a bit too easy. It looks too easy, even though Cleveland actually has the worst record somehow. They're actually 1 game below 500, whereas Sacramento is right at, or half game below, I guess, whereas Sacramento is right at 500. But I think people consider Cleveland to be the better of the 2 teams. They have the bigger name. I think people, and they're going to look at those games against Golden State, the common opponent, and think Cleveland's certainly the better team. They should be able to, basically, when you're taking them to just win the game, right? I think differently about it, so that's the play that I'm on. NBA has been good to me this year. I should have played all three of my strongest leans yesterday. Unfortunately, I did not. So I believe I'm 14-6 now on the NBA season. Should be 16-6, or I don't know. I've had some other leans that I didn't quite make plays on either. I was also right about the 76ers covering yesterday too. So it is what it is. I'm seeing the NBA pretty well right now, so hopefully that continues. So Sacramento Kings +3 is the play for today. And then we do have I forgot to mention, there is the NFL Monday night game tonight, where I did talk about it in my NFL video, but real quickly, not much has changed in this one. We got, what is it? Broncos, Bills. Bills look like they've gone down from -9 to -7, 7.5. I think it's been 7.5 all week, though. I think the 9 was like the week ahead, the week before. I think that was the look ahead. So the Bills were favored by more on the look ahead. And it looks like they do have 83% of the cash, but only 82% of the tickets. So that makes it look like more of the money is on the Bills. I'm not sure I agree with that. The Bills are coming off a big game where they lost. They played a primetime game last week against Cincinnati, and we're trying to take out their revenge for Cincinnati knocking them out of the playoffs last year. They were not able to do that, so that's kind of a big loss, kind of a devastating loss for Buffalo in that case. So I don't think they're in a very good spot. Denver, I don't think is in that good a spot either, even though they are coming out of a bye, so I think maybe that's a bit of an edge for them. But Denver went into the bye on a 2-game win streak, so that bye could be a momentum killer in a way when you go into the bye on the win streak, like we saw with Jacksonville. That was the case with them yesterday. And the Broncos' previous game before going into the bye, they won against the Kansas City Chiefs in fairly convincing fashion at home. It was a big win for the Broncos against the Chiefs there. The top, maybe one of the top teams in the AFC and top team in their division. Big win for the Broncos as an underdog. So they're coming off that and went into the bye off that. But because it's the Bills, it's Monday night, they're a big team. I don't think that the Broncos are just going to show a complete lapse in focus here. And I think the Bills are certainly going to kind of be like the public side here. So, as I said in my video, I do lean to the Broncos a little bit, even though I think it's negative. The spots are negative for both teams here, but possibly in this case, the bye might give the Broncos like a little bit of that edge there, even though they went into the bye when it was not the most advantageous. Maybe it'll help them kind of put that Kansas City win a bit, leave it a bit behind and not be thinking about it as much now when you have another big game that you have to play right now. So maybe that's the case. That's all I got to say about it. Sacramento Kings +3 though, man. Have a good day.